Activate party mode.
A-firm, party mode engaged.
Hello and welcome to Party Mode, the F1 podcast with no limits. I'm Jethro Bovingdon and I'm joined by my good friends Charlie Curtis and Matthew Collins. Now, boys, usually I have a pretty good plan of what's going to happen in this podcast. However, I spent the entirety of Friday night in seat 83B of an Airbus A380 flying from LA to London.
Oh, no.
Pure economy, and my body and brain have yet to recover. So I think I'm going to have to lean on you boys. I listened to qualifying on my way home, and then I watched the race, but I was in a hell of jet lag. So, yeah, what happened? And is it possibly true that Charlie Curtis correctly predicted P10, or am I still hallucinating after this?
First and
this travel?
foremost, I correctly predicted P10, and it was incredible. He came from bottom of the lineup, P20, climbed, scratched, and clawed his way back. And man, that was exciting.
It's weirdly it feels like watching your kid or something when you're very close to a P10, doesn't it? You don't want to watch the last 2 or 3 laps, because who was close to him? Was it Ocon or someone who was super? No, Antonelli was super close to him, wasn't he, for about 15 laps at the end?
And I mean, I think we have undervalued Mercedes this season so far, and I think this week we owe them a little more praise, because they have been on it, consistent. They're right there. And Antonelli, specifically for a rookie, has just been really quick. He's making passes. He's getting the most out of that car. And yeah, he was right behind Behrman that whole time.
It was strange, though. Again, I was slightly dazed and confused, but every time I looked at the screen, Antonelli was overtaking like 3 cars, and yet he finished 11th. It was the weirdest thing. It was like he must have thought there was 100 cars in that race, because somehow the strategy kept putting him to the back again.
Guys, I hate to be a little bit of bearer of bad news, but I just checked the F1 app. Yuki didn't get 10th.
It wasn't
No, I
Yuki,
had
it was
Behrman.
Behrman.
You had Behrman. I thought you had Yuki. Why did I think you had Yuki?
No.
Fuck.
He always has Yuki. That's why, because he chooses him every week, except this week.
It's literally the only week he hasn't picked him.
Well, also, the best part is I picked Behrman, and going into the race, he's starting in the back. He couldn't even make it out of Q1. And I'm like, oh, of course. I cursed him like anyone else I pick. And then he pulled it off.
Let's maybe we should talk qualifying, because we had some happy people and some very, very sad people. So where did it all shake out in qualifying? I was pleased to see Yuki made it into the top 10. That was cool. But there were some very upset characters, weren't there?
I mean, obviously the McLarens looked fast all weekend. They were kind of favored going in. But again, George was pulling out incredible lap times. There's a weird thing with Max I was thinking when I was watching qualifying. Dax and I used to talk about this all the time with like Tom Brady, which the reference might not get to you, Jethro, but
I've met Tom Brady. We're bros.
So watching football games, when Tom Brady would play, if he was down with 2 minutes left, there was no stress. You just had a feeling he was going to pull something out. He's going to make something happen. You weren't worried about it, and there's something about Max, like, even when he's not having a great weekend, he hasn't had good Q1 or Q2, you just have this feeling that he can pull something out. And he didn't manage to do it this weekend, but it's fun to watch because he always is that wild card. And especially now when he's not the dominant car, it just mixes it up a little when you always think he could pull out that insane lap. He can get that one time. He can put it on the pole, even though he doesn't have the best car. So I had that feeling going in. I thought Max was going to do something incredible. We had the McLarens going really fast, but when it came down to it, Piastri just took it. You couldn't stop him.
It was crazy with Gasly. Like, just seeing an Alpine so high up on the grid is pretty exciting. Even though I'm not a huge Alpine fan, it was awesome.
They were up there the whole time,
Flavio
too.
effect.
It's Flavio.
It's Flavio. He's bad.
He has everyone scared shitless.
Everyone's scared. He's chilling out. Like he's like it's the old days. The good old days are back. Flav's going to
You
bring
need a little
LP back to the
dictator on
front.
your team to bring it to just make it work, you know? It's like
Yeah,
the dictators in F1 work really well. Not in real life, but in F1 they work.
Yeah, they do work. They work brilliantly. But yeah, are we seeing a pattern, do you think? Like, I still think Norris, when he's switched on, is quicker than Piastri. However, they've got the best car, and it is going to be down to who has the off weekend, who makes the mistake. And at the minute, Lando, he was so upset. I mean, I know he's always upset with himself if he's not on pole, but he was like depressed. You wouldn't want to see him on a high bridge on Saturday night, basically.
I don't know. Piastri looks pretty locked in. No mistakes. He's not flustered by the moment. All of his sessions, all of his qualifying sessions, he was on it. I don't know. I have a feeling that Lando hyped himself up in his mind too much. Like he put too much pressure on himself that this was the year. This is my year to do it. Who knows what happens with the cars next year? But we have the car this year. This is my year. And it seems like he's put just a little too much pressure on himself and he's buckling a bit.
I think it's interesting because it's like when you said about Tom Brady, how like you're not worried in the end. I feel like Oscar, if he's in the lead and doing something, I'm not really worried about it. He's not going to give it up. But if Lando's in the lead and I'm rooting for him, I'm like, fuck, what's going to happen? Is he going to fail? Because like one mistake early can change his entire race and his mentality. And Oscar seems to like, he could have a near collision or go off the track or something happen and still level it up. But also he had a little bit of a shitty start with, creeping up past the line. And then he got a penalty, but he still kind of made it back pretty well with all those things happening to him.
That's true. We've seen him in the front before, and it just is a little squirrely. It's a little dicey. He's never in that position where he's just comfortably coasting out in front like so many other guys are. It's always just a little bit on edge. Like, is he going to hang on? So that is true. And I guess we should talk about that start because, come on, we're professionals, right?
Well, we're not professionals, but they are. Yeah, that's
we're
for
not,
sure.
but they are.
I always just wonder, can't you fucking throw it in a quick reverse? Like get it back 2 inches? Like you got to have a feeling you might be over the line. If you might be over the line, go back 2 inches just to be safe.
Or just don't go over the line because there's the same line every single race. What are we doing here?
Yeah, it's a strange one. Basically, he was so upset, wasn't he? What was he saying? It's like, I've never driven an F1 car before. Oscar's going to lap the entire field, so I'll do my best to come up to second, which he did a pretty good job of nearly doing. But yeah, he seemed so upset after qualifying, and it wasn't like he qualified second. Where did he line up? He was sixth on the road, but then the Mercedes got deducted a place, didn't they? So did he start sixth or did he start fifth?
He still started sixth, and Max was right behind him in seventh. Yeah, because Mercedes just got one.
Yeah, because Max called him out on the start. Max was like,
that was the best part.
Happened. He was like, Max, he cheated. He started early.
That was the best part.
Yeah, then we had the Ferraris as well, and Lewis being like Lando Senior, basically. He was also like depressed. I mean, he's only a few races in with Ferrari, and he sounded like a broken man, basically, didn't he?
But after the race, he did say he's finally feeling comfortable in the car. So, I don't know. He's figured it out, is what he said. So now, I guess that being said, there's kind of no more excuses moving forward. Hopefully, he's just performing in it and got it figured out.
Did you see his interview pre-race? An interviewer asked him, what do you say to all the fans that are looking for and waiting for some moment of magic and something special? And he said, basically, stop waiting. Stop waiting. Just watch and enjoy it. And it is what it is, more or less, which I don't know that you want to hear that as a fan or if you're any part of that Ferrari staff. But he's like, stop waiting.
I mean, it's tricky, isn't it? Because he looked like he'd found his feet in China. He got the sprint win. He was dominant. He absolutely hammered Leclerc in qualifying for that and the race, really. Not so much in the main race, but that was a setup change. So I was like, oh, he's on it now. Like he's got it figured out. And every time you watch him, there's another reason. Like, and he's right. He's saying, I watched an interview with him earlier on. He's like, I've been driving this Mercedes for years and years and years. Suddenly I've got all the controls are different. It drives differently. I'm using engine braking in a way I didn't have to before. Instead of CI brakes, I think he said, I've now got Brembo brakes. So there is an awful lot to unlearn and relearn. But yeah, it's again, I feel like it needs to happen pretty quick, because you get into this spiral, and I think he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's a bit like Lando. He needs to have a good weekend next weekend, I think. Otherwise, this is gonna be the story of the season. Him qualifying 5-6 places behind Leclerc. He did do well in the race, admittedly, but yeah, it needs to be a turnaround, I think, for him.
We also had a good Sainz and Lewis battle in the race, which was fun to watch. They were going at it a little bit. Lewis ultimately got the best of him, but it was fun to see, and it seemed like Carlos was trying a little harder for that.
He looked like he was having a better weekend, didn't he? But then everything that could go wrong sort of did go wrong for Carlos again.
Maybe it was the only DNF. Massive hole out of his side pod. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'll help you out.
I was watching and I was like, oh, Carlos is having a mare. I wonder what that's all about. And literally, as I said it to Laura, there was just a picture of his car with a massive hole in the side. I was like, okay, well, that would probably explain it. That would do the trick. But it was good to see such a mixed up grid, wasn't it? There was Alpine were actually fast. Doohan was looking incredibly quick in qualifying at one stage. Gasly absolutely flying. It feels like McLaren definitely are going to be pretty much unstoppable. Mercedes are always going to be there or thereabouts. Max has got his magic moments. But even Ferrari now could get swallowed up in that fight with Alpine. And I mean, what's going on with Haas? It's just unbelievable.
Surpass Ferrari. It's insane.
It's definitely a weird mixed up grid. But it's great to watch. And it was just nice not to have a snooze fest, wasn't it? After Japan had been a little bit of a nightmare, this was considerably more fun in every way. And Yuki, I know he didn't have like an incredible result, but when Max is struggling as badly as he did, I think Yuki did bloody well to be anywhere near, really.
It was impressive seeing what Yuki did, for sure.
And Lawson continues to struggle. So in comparison, Yuki's doing just fine.
Yeah, Charlie's never going to give Lawson a break. When Lawson goes to bed, he sees Charlie in his dreams telling him he's a shit driver.
Look, I am too big of a Yuki fan, so if Yuki's not going to win, then I don't want Lawson to win. If Yuki's having a great weekend, I'm okay with Lawson creeping up there a little bit, but I'm going to take.
So how did you feel? Because you had Lewis, who you really like, having a bit of a nightmare weekend, although the race he was admittedly good, and it was nice to see him battling with Max as well. That must have been pretty satisfying. But then you had Behrman just flying, your P10. You must have been like up and down during this race.
I love this race. And even though we had, again, 5th time in a row, we have the pole sitter taking P1. I thought it was a really good race. Pit strategy came into play kind of for the first time, where we could see the undercuts. We could see different strategies. Some people starting with a one-stop strategy, then switching to a 2, to a 3. We had a safety car, which mixed it all up again. It was really fun in terms of strategy, and we just haven't seen that this far. So I really liked it.
And Ferrari got the strategy right. Leclerc wanted those hard tires on, and they were like, no, and he was kind of pissed about it. And you could tell if he was right, he was going to be so pissed. But like, Ferrari getting the strategy right is a rare thing.
He wanted that plan Delta or whatever.
Delta. Yeah, he wanted Delta.
And Delta was, I guess, hard tires, and they had seen someone else on hards that wasn't going quick. And so they last minute changed, like, nope, we're putting you on the mediums. And he was flying, and it paid off, which is the first time I think we see their strategy actually work.
They got it absolutely right up until the last stop when they did put the hard tires on, and they were flying. And I was like, everyone who's put the hard tires on is going slow. Put the softs on and take a risk. At least one of you, like one of them could have split the strategy. And they put the tires on, and sure enough, within a lap, Lewis is like, these tires suck. And all of their energy and forward motion just stopped. They were then just completely stuck. So that was a little bit disappointing, because I thought they could have taken a gamble and actually got a good result, because their race pace looked mega on those medium tires. And Norris was right when he said about George. He said he doesn't need to worry. The soft tires are great. They're going to be fine. So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. I was like, Ferrari was so close to having a race where they truly went forward, beat people on pace, and then they sort of let it go at the last minute, I think.
They already made the call once earlier in the race that the hards weren't the tire. We'll stick with mediums. How does that change when you're later in the race? That part I don't get.
You've got two cars. Why wouldn't you just at least take a gamble? Speak to one of them and say, okay, who's ready for the soft? George is doing it. We think it's going to go quicker. I don't know. It seemed a shame for me, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's impressive, but from George, like how many laps did he do on those softs at the end? And he was like, this is not going to work. Like these tires will not last. And he just consistently can nail those tires to go 5 to more laps than anyone else. It's impressive.
He called it audacious, which I think was a very George
audacious.
moment,
Yes.
wasn't it? It was a very, no one else would come over the radio and go, wow, guys, this is audacious.
As he's going 250 kilometers an hour, just like says good words. I can't say them in a normal day. Going slow.
What would George have done if he wasn't an F1 driver, I wonder? He would have been a professional croquet player or lacrosse or something. It'd have to be. Maybe, yeah, polo. Polo would be another thing he could do, I think.
Laura showed me this influencer that like talks about her like posh life. Like she has like her chef and she is having caviar on her eggs in the morning and just showing how rich she is and fancy she is. That's him. But also, guys, we got to talk about like, I think the theme for this weekend was technical difficulties. There was technical difficulties with the Red Bull pit lane lights, which was so fucking weird. I've never seen anything like that. We'll talk about that in a second. Then second, George's car and him dropping from second to last in the timing screen was so weird. Never seen that before. And lastly, the fucking camera footage of F1, like the feed, they were showing the wrong things all the time. You could tell like Brundle would be like, oh, we need to see a replay of this. It would never happen. They don't even show Oscar win the race. They show it in the little 2 centimeter by 2 centimeter screen. Like, how the fuck you haven't shown this kid all race? Can you just show him win the race? Like, this isn't Max winning every race and we're bored of it. Like, this is just his second win of the season and not many wins. He's a young driver. Like, fucking show it.
We couldn't see any of the updated times or the gaps between drivers. George dropped down to last, then he bumped up to 9th, then he bumped up to second. I mean, he was all over the board. And then also George's dash went out. And they're like, hey, just
Crazy.
FYI, it might go out. Just keep driving. It was chaotic at the end. Things were going awry. It seemed like at the very end, it was falling apart all around.
He hit radio and his DRS opened. That's insane. Could you imagine you're going around a high-speed corner and fucking DRS opens? Like, he could have died from that.
That was the DRS thing that was under investigation. It was that he hit his radio button. Wow.
Because it was all happening and they had to reset everything because of something else. And I guess it switched the buttons around on his steering wheel. Toto gave him a lot of credit. Like, to deal with all that shit is insane.
I mean, the amount of information they have on the wheel to suddenly just not have it and be like, yeah, don't worry, it might turn off for a minute. Like, that's their entire, like, it's like their nervous system for the entire race. And I was thinking about like gear change points and everything. I think in their earphones, they have a beep when it changes gear as well. So when they need to change gear, they have a little audible signifier in their ear. But I don't even know if maybe that went out as well. So then you're just literally driving in the dark, not knowing where the engine revs are or anything. So yeah, that is actually impressive. He is driving really well, and it must be gutting for him that they're not quite there with the car. And it feels like he might have an amazing season where he drives at the top of his game and just doesn't quite get there, you know, because and you know, I suspect Oscar will make a few mistakes. Lando's already made a few mistakes, but it looks much more likely that one of those two boys will win it, and George is just on it, and it's not happening.
Yeah, he definitely looks on it. It's kind of the same question we go back to all the time, like how good is the driver and how good is the car? Is Mercedes that bad and George is just wrangling that car and getting everything he can out of it? Or are they slowly creeping back up in performance? Are they going to make some upgrades mid-season that maybe bring them a little closer? I feel like George is right there. I feel like he's right
He's
there.
close.
Antonelli is there too. They're both driving really, really, really consistently, and they're on it. And I don't, like you said, I
Yeah.
don't think the car is that great.
Martin Brundle was commenting that he thinks if Red Bull keeps going this way, Max is going to want to go to Mercedes, and Toto will for sure take him. And it's going to be Russell that moves over. And that would be so devastating because he's such a good driver and he's proving it. But like Toto's going to replace him with Max if he has the opportunity to. And he's going to keep Kimi because Kimi's showing like he's got the potential to potentially be a Max down the road with some experience. So fucking poor Russell potentially.
Can you think of a driver on the grid less suited to the Red Bull environment than George Russell? Like, you think of Red Bull, you know what I mean? It's like people jumping off of cliffs in wingsuits and like all this sort of, I don't know, just drifters and BMXers and then you've got Prince George in the corner. It just, I mean, can you imagine at the Red Bull athletes party at the end of the year,
God.
George is on his own, sparkling water, stood at the bar, while all the other guys smashed out their minds, jumping on tables, cracking chairs over each other's heads, and there's George just chilling, wondering what's going on, texting his mum saying he's not having a good time.
He's just with a tuxedo and with martini in the back, just like quiet.
I mean, Mercedes is a pretty on the nose match. I mean, come on.
I could see him in Ferrari because that's sort of European aristocracy vibe. He could channel some of that old school European aristocracy vibe. Like back in the day, there was drivers like Von Trips and all these other dudes who were just basically rich European playboys. And George almost fits into that, doesn't he? He's definitely got the blue-blooded vibe, but yeah, not Red Bull. It couldn't work.
His personality would suit going to Audi for sure. I'm
Yeah,
not saying they're going to
maybe.
have the best car, but like I feel like the vibe of it would work.
I mean,
Yeah.
I find it's so, what the problem is for these drivers, like you wouldn't want to move for 26 because no one knows. You could go anywhere and you could be way down the field. So really, I think even Max will want to hold on, see what happens in 26, because then he can have the vibe of, oh yeah, Aston Martin have fulfilled their potential with Adrian Newey, or Mercedes are back because they're the guys with the best engine, and then he can move and make his next 4 world titles or whatever. But to move before the new cars have been out on track, I think is a bit of a gamble for Max. But you're right, I think if they continue to not only not perform but just not improve the car at all, it seems, he's going to get upset and want to go somewhere. Maybe a yacht for a year.
Do you guys remember that team, Aston Martin? I think we've all forgotten about them. I don't think we've mentioned them once this entire season. Like, what is happening? They are the new, well, I guess Sauber is still there, but like, it's bad.
Hulkenberg's doing all right.
Hulkenberg, yeah. Both of them
doing
have their
all right.
moments.
I think they're great. Yeah, and I like Bortolatti. I think Sauber, Kick, whatever the hell they're called at the moment, because everyone expected them to be truly, truly awful. Whenever I see them, I'm always like, oh, they're doing pretty well. Whereas Aston Martin, you're right. If they weren't there on any given race weekend,
You wouldn't know.
no one would notice. Like literally, no one would notice.
They've truly given up this season. They've just been like, next year. That's it.
Man.
It's such a big gamble, though. It's
Yeah.
because they get, even if with the genius of Newey, if Honda don't get the engine right and these new engine regulations, Newey can only do so much. We saw it when the last regs change in 2014. Newey actually was like, I don't really want to do this anymore, because he was like, this is just an engine formula. Mercedes have got the best engine. He was convinced they had the best car, the best aero package, but they couldn't win because Mercedes just had this monster dragster of an engine. And if Aston Martin get the Honda and it doesn't work, Newey can't save them. So I think you have to prove this season that you know how to make the car better, because even though they're different cars, the processes have to be the same. You're looking at aero, you're looking at data, you're comparing traces with other teams. If you can't find those gains in this rule set, I don't think you can find them. It doesn't give you a good platform for the next rule set, because you don't know if your tools or your fancy new wind tunnel and all the tools they've got actually work. You're just saying, oh, we've got really expensive, sophisticated tools, therefore we should be able to do this. You have to prove it now. You can't just take it as read that all these things work. So yeah, they need to do something, because they're just a nightmare, aren't they?
They went from being the team we saw everywhere. Lawrence was everywhere. We were hearing about all his parties and all his things. And now the whole team is just gone.
Yeah, and it's funny because they're saying that Adrian Newey is basically just working on next year, but you'd think he's sat in an office, isn't he, next door to them. You'd think someone would knock on the window and be like, do you want to have a look at this shitbox and see if you can make it go faster?
Well, also, and you were telling us about going to Red Bull and you're seeing those thousands of people working on that team. I have a hard time imagining he's in there just watching all of these people currently working on the current car and the current season, and he's just completely checked out and avoiding all contact and not helping or not doing anything. That seems impossible. But I don't know.
Yeah, he's just always writing in that notebook, looking at everyone else's cars. You think him just coming to one race weekend, writing a few notes, would at least give you a couple spots.
Yeah, just it's a strange one. But I heard a great story. I don't know if I meant to say this or not, but I was somewhere with someone who sort of is in this F1 world, and he was like, the first week Adrian arrived at Aston Martin, he arrived and obviously had like an entire diary full of meetings for week one, and he didn't turn up. He cancelled them all basically, and they were like, well, why aren't you? Well, don't you want to get up to speed with some of this stuff? And he was like, yeah, but I think I'd be really bored. That was it.
God.
But that's because he's not that guy. He's a creative guy. He's not gonna sit in there. He is the guy with the drawing board who makes stuff tick in the background and pushes everyone's philosophy in the right direction. He's not going to be sitting in 8-hour meetings discussing, the production cycle of a new wishbone or whatever. That's just not how it's going to be. So I think there'll be a pretty big period where Aston Martin have to get used to the way he works as well, which Red Bull had obviously figured out and made him feel completely at home. So yeah, I think, but yeah, they're nowhere. How's Alonso? I didn't see any interviews, Matt. You're normally good at the interview stuff. Is he just miserable or just...
So he's just, at the beginning of the season he didn't even want to do any press whatsoever, probably because he knows something where it's like, this is going to be such a fucking boring season for us. But I did see a little clip of him talking to Fabio, and everyone was like, what's going on? What's happening? But it's probably nothing.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Poor Aston Martin.
Completely side note. Last week I was at that Kelsey Ballerini concert in Charleston, South Carolina. And I got a hat. And honestly, if you wore hats, I would have got this for you. It was a hat that says Cowboys Cry Too. She has a song called it. And the whole time I'm wearing it, I'm just thinking about you the whole time. And I'm so curious about, like, did you cry on the flight home? Did you watch another sad movie?
Didn't cry on the flight home. I
just
thought
when you
about
saw
that,
your seat.
Actually. Yeah, I was tired. I slept pretty well, but I watched Barbie and I managed to get through it without crying. So pretty good.
That's kind of surprising. I figured you might cry to Barbie.
Yeah, I had watched it once before, but I needed something easy. I was tired. Like I was super tired, so I needed something easy. And films are so serious these days. Yeah. It seems like it's either horror films or like really serious, heavy going stuff. So I thought Barbie would be a better choice for me. Yeah, and I didn't cry. I didn't even snivel. It was pretty amazing, really.
I almost got on TMZ on the weekend. There was one influencer that we were there with from the show called South-ern Charm. I've never heard of it. It's like some big reality show in the South. And there was a girl from it, and I had to wrangle all these girls leaving the concert from the back. She kept getting stopped, and then this girl looks at me and she's like, oh my God, Wes, I can't believe you guys are back together. And I don't know what she's talking about. I guess she thought I was this girl's ex-boyfriend. And then the girl thought we were going to be on all the sites with this guy, Wes, and I kind of look like him. They showed me a picture, and I was like, this is going to be fucking hilarious. I wake up in the morning with pictures of me being like, Wes is back with so-and-so. Fucking
what were you doing
there? Dyson, we did a influencer event at a Kelsey Ballerini concert, and like I went and styled all the girls' hair during the day in this little cute Southern house. And speaking of Southern, Southern. The one thing I learned when in the US is I don't say Southern. That sounds so fucking weird to me. If you think like North, East, West, South, the only one that changes is it should be South-ern. Like Eastern, Western, Northern, and then South turns into Southern. Like, why? It doesn't make Jethro in the UK, do you say Southern or do you say Southern?
We say Southern because it's
See,
That's
what
how
I don't
are
know,
you
maybe
talking
it's,
about?
it's just
It's
me,
'cause
but it
it's our
kind of makes
language.
sense. Yeah. Fucking
So
weird,
you-
Southern.
Well, we'll try it. Southern. Just start saying
Southern.
it. Just start saying it in
Sounds-
public and see what
It
happens.
makes me uncomfortable to hear it. It makes me uncomfortable
I'm-
to hear it. I don't
I'm
like
a
it.
Southerner.
I don't like it.
Southerner.
I'm a Southerner. Gonna down see all those Southerners. I love
I
it.
hate it. I hate it.
Are there any other words that really piss you off, Matt? This is great.
Man, I say words all the time wrong. It's just what I do. It's Laura's
Where is your
correcting me.
accent? What is your accent from?
Canadian, but like North Canadian, like not in a big city. So a little bit just small town is where it kind of stems from. Not as refined. And also failing out of every English class I've ever taken probably has something to do with that.
But when you travel, do people assume you're American? Because it's hard for English ears to pick up the difference. I've got the subtleties now because you do say some weird stuff, so
Yeah.
I get it. But the rest of the world probably just assumes you're American, which must hurt you deeply.
My first few years, it was always Canadian. People got it right away. And I always say it's so lucky to be Canadian because, like, there's a lot of assholes in Canada. Let's start by saying that. There's a lot of wonderful people. But when I work with a new client and they hear that little, like, Canadian accent, they're like, oh my God, you're Canadian. I love Canadians. And, like, unfortunately for you two, it's rough traveling the world. The Brits and the Americans are not generally immediately loved. Like, they find out you're a Brit or an American anywhere else in the world that aren't those countries. People are like, I don't know about this. But you have to kind of prove that you are nice. And most people are. It's not like we have more nice people in Canada. Maybe we do. But it's this weird perception that happens globally.
Well, I guess because we ruled the world for some time and were not very nice to the rest of the world. And now America sort of rules the world and is also has questionable behavior at times. So, yeah.
And
it's
we've never
tough.
ruled the world. We've never even come close.
Canada's not ruled the world. So, I mean, that's the way it has to be. Like when you're the big dog, you get shot down sometimes.
I think Matt sounds Canadian, but we go back to Toronto every summer with Matt, and when we're there, it's insane.
Changes
Ramps up.
fast.
It's like it changes, and also when you're around other people with a similar accent, it like is exponentially stronger. And I'm like, oh my
yeah,
God.
I swear a lot more too. So many swear
Really?
words. Oh,
Is it?
God.
How come? Is Canada pretty heavy on the
It's-
swearing, or just your crew out there?
No, I think it's like growing up in a small town of like idiots. It's like when I talk to my friends, my wife's like, easy with the F-bombs. Like, you've just said fuck 14 times in 2 sentences. It makes no sense. It doesn't even make sense where you're saying it.
It's a holdover from his brethren years.
Yeah, I couldn't swear for so many years. So then when I got out of the brethren, then I just was like, fuck.
What would happen if you swore as a brethren? Would you just be beaten with some sort
Spankings. A lot of
of just
spankings.
spankings? Yeah, so you deliberately swore
spankings
a
and
lot.
prayer. Yeah. That's why I do it now. I'm like,
That's
Lord,
why
get
you
out
do
the
it
belt.
so-
Get out the belt.
so often.
Oh, no, I swore. Oh, honey, no.
We've uncovered it. We've uncovered something here that's 100% real.
Oh, my
that's
God.
brilliant.
Also, Charlie has like 5 weeks off of work right now,
Why?
Oh,
basically,
Well,
because he's like
I'm
a
in
superstar
Mexico.
dad.
I mean, begrudgingly so. I'm in Mexico. now for
Begrudgingly,
spring
I'm in
break.
Mexico on vacation. Horrible.
So this part is great. We're in spring break. We're in outside of Puerto Vallarta and Sayulita, and it's awesome. We got a great house here. Went into the town last night for dinner, which was rad. I have a little golf cart. We're just cruising down these old streets. It's so cool. So I'm here all week, but next week I'm chaperoning Ace's 5th grade field trip, which is to Catalina, 2 nights, 50 kids, and I got
He's the
convoyed
only
with-
dad that volunteered.
So how big is the team? So what is it? Teachers, couple of mums, and you, or something?
There's one teacher, 4 moms, and me. I mean, we go into a camp, like there's stuff there. There's facilities, there's bunk rooms and showers and people that help facilitate snorkeling and all this other stuff. But as far as chaperones responsible for the kids, I'm the only dad.
You're the only dad. How do you work out when you travel? This sounds a personal question, but it's like it's your life. A huge part of your life is doing this, and if you're not at the gym, how do you do it?
I mean, like for Mexico, I will most likely run. I love running when I'm on vacation. Just go out and kind of get lost for 2 miles out and 2 miles back and kind of look around and see stuff. But I'll look up gyms. There seems to be one close by. I'll pop into one. I don't need to go every single day. I will find a gym usually and work out. I like to check out local spots and see what's around and do that. And worst case, I'll just do something at home, like do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, do some squats, do something. But I just try to move a little bit, nothing crazy.
Okay, boys. Well, we should probably. Did we even mention that Oscar won the race? Like, we've come all the way through it. He just disappeared.
Oscar won.
We're like the TV director, basically. We've forgotten that Oscar was there, but he won, dominated, potentially a turning spot in the championship where Lando's lost his head a little. His Oscar's just so steady. His speech when he won was classic. It was just like a 2-minute monologue, not really saying anything. I was just cracking. I was like, only Oscar could win that easily and then just go on a little. It's like he's not even there. It's like he's not in the car.
No.
He's just chatting.
Even when he wins, he like when everyone else will like jump into the crowd and like they're like he's just like giving Zach a little hug, giving everyone like a little high five. Unbelievable.
And I loved it when they asked him about his drink. Did you catch that bit when the guy was like, "Just remember to have your drink"? Yeah, and he didn't.
And he's like,
didn't
well, I would,
skip
but it's
a
not
beat.
working.
Yeah, it was so deadpan and so instant. There was no hesitation, and I was like,
Very
"That's
matter of
Oscar."
fact. There was no back and forth. Just, oh, I'd love to, but it's not working.
I love him. He's great. I'm becoming an Oscar fan, I think, over time.
I think you're right. I think this was a turning point. I think for confidence and confidence for Lando too, like this puts more pressure on him and it doesn't seem like he's performing under pressure. So I think knowing that now Oscar has won 2 races, he's put it on pole twice. I think there's a little extra pressure for him, and Oscar is just so cool under pressure. And I think this
He
is a
really
big
is.
turning point.
And he said he needs a reset, but he hasn't really got much time because we're going straight into Saudi. The track, talk about pressure. It is a track where big crashes can happen. No margin of error, street circuit. So, Matt, you've got a little preview of the track, but I think Lando needs to get his head into gear quick because this is a tough track.
Yeah. So it's a permanent street track, opened December 2021. It is 6.174 kilometers long with 16 left turns, 11 right turns. It is 50 laps. The average speed is approximately 250 kilometers an hour. So it's the fastest street circuit in F1. The lap record is 1 minute 30.734 by Lewis Hamilton in 2021. It's a night race under floodlights, high-speed layout, flowing corners, and then there's a blind turn on turn 22, which is pretty exciting. And it was designed by Carlston Tilk. How do you say
Tilke.
that? Tilk?
It's Herman
Tilke's
Tilke, isn't it?
son.
Herman Tilke, yeah. Oh, it's his son.
Yeah.
So Tilker's designed. He's got a company and he designed most of the tracks. So all the new tracks were called Tilkedromes because they all felt quite similar. But I think they gradually improved what they were doing. And this one's great. Like you say, 250 Ks is like 155 miles an hour average speed. Street circuit, barriers. I had a little look at last year's, and funnily enough, Lando jumped the start, but he got away with it. He sort of crept, stopped, and then went again. Max won. It was only the second race last year, and Max won easily because he was in that dominant period. But there's always a chance of mayhem. So I think it could be a really good race. If Oscar wins this one, the tide is turning. The tide is turning. So I think definitely looks like McLaren are going to continue to dominate. I mean, it's fair to say, isn't it? It's close margins, really, but they're getting first and second, first and third. They're locking out front rows, and it looks like they might do it again. So we're excited about Saudi Arabia. We're excited about Saudi. I'm not going to try and say Arabia. I can't say it. South-ern.
South-ern Arabia.
South-ern Arabia. It's going to be it's going to be a great race. So yeah. Oh, P10. Do we need to do a P10? Let's do a quick P10 prediction.
Yeah. Well, we only need to do it because I won, so we got to keep it going.
Okay. You won last time, so you can't go. So Matt, go first.
I'm going Hadjar till he wins. I just want him to do. Yeah, I'm going Hadjar. Probably a risky one, but let's keep going.
I'm going to do Sainz again because sooner or later this boy's got to have some luck, and he needs a 10th place. So I'm going to go Sainz.
He does.
Charlie,
I want Behrman, but I also want him to do better than 10. So I'm going to go Doohan.
Doohan's
he needs it.
Out.
Yeah,
he does. He's done all right though. Let's see what happens with Doohan. But okay, so there are P10 predictions. Normally I'd say we haven't got a chance, but Charlie's broken the curse, and there's a very good chance one of us is going to get this right. Probably not, but sometime it's going to happen. So yeah, Southern Saudi Arabia next, and Charlie's is down Southern in Mexico. So it's just a theme now. Everything's Southern.
He's down Southern.
Let's think of some other words.
It's so much easier just to say Southern.
It is. Now that I know, but I stand by it.
Okay, on that note, we're now going to go. See you guys.